Welcome back to Guitar Theory Modules. This is Module 73 and we're on pages 176 through 179. Up to this point, you've learned about intervals up to the octave. In this module, you're going to learn about extended intervals which extend beyond the octave. When you learn to recognize intervals in Module 7, you learn to count step by step to name the interval. And extended intervals work the same way, you just have more steps to count. Extended intervals are called extended intervals because they extend beyond the octave, and they can include intervals like the 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. So if I wanted to write a 9th above the note C, I would start on a C and start counting the steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that D is a 9th above C. To find the interval of a 10th above C, again I would start on that C and start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that E is a 10th above C. And you can figure out your other intervals the same way, the 11th, 12th, and 13th. Take your starting note and start counting steps. With enough practice, you'll eventually be able to recognize extended intervals on sight. But until then, there's a lot of counting involved. You can use the octave to cut down on the amount of note counting. Remember that an octave is 8 notes distance. So a 9th would be an octave, or 8, plus 1 step. A 10th would be an octave, or 8, plus 2 steps. An 11th is an octave plus 3 steps. A 12th is an octave plus 4 steps. And a 13th is an octave plus 5 steps. When you drop the upper note of an extended interval down an octave, you can see how they relate to intervals you've already studied. This is going to be very useful for building chords and for recognizing major, minor, augmented, and diminished extended intervals in Module 74. An easy way to figure out which small and extended intervals correlate with each other is to subtract 7 from the larger interval. The interval of a 9th minus 7 becomes a second. The interval of a 10th minus 7 becomes a third. The interval of an 11th minus 7 becomes a fourth. The interval of a 12th minus 7 becomes a fifth. And the interval of a 13th minus 7 becomes a sixth. At the top of page 178, we have Extended Interval Exercise 1. Your job is to name these extended intervals, and you can either count each step or you can use that octave counting shortcut I showed you on page 177. For numbers 1 through 6, I'm going to count the steps, and in 7 through 12, I'm going to use that octave shortcut. If you have a copy of Guitar Theory Modules, you can write your answers right there in the book and check your work on page 228. If you don't have a copy of Guitar Theory Modules, you're going to need some manuscript paper to write on, and you can find some free manuscript paper on my website. I'll leave a link for that in the description. I'm going to go over the answers now, so pause the video, write your answers, start the video, and check your work. Number 1, D to F. Count the notes from D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That F is a 10th above D. Number 2, B to F. Count the notes from B. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. From this B to this F is a 12th. Number 3, E to F. Let's count those notes from E. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So from this E to this F is a 9th. Number 4, F to B. Let's start counting from that F. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So from this F to this B is an 11th. Number 5, low G to this E. Counting the notes, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So from this low G to this E is a 13th. Number 6, C to D. Start counting from C. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So from this C to this D is a ninth. For the rest of these, we're going to use the octave shortcut. Number 7, D to G. So take that D, raise it an octave, so that's 8, and then count from there. 9, 10, 11. So from this D to this G is an 11th. Number 8, low B to this G. We take that B, raise it an octave, so there's 8, and then start counting 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So from this B to this G is a 13th. Number 9, from this E to this B. Take the E, raise it an octave, there's your 8, and then count 9, 10, 11, 12. So from this E to this B is a 12th. Number 10, from this F to this G. Take the F, raise it an octave, so there's your 8. We just have one more to count, 9. So from this F to this G is a ninth. Number 11, low A to this third space C. Take that low A, raise it an octave, so there's 8 already, and then count 9 and 10. So low A to third space C is a 10th. And number 12, from this C to this F. Take the C, raise it an octave, so there's 8, and then count 9, 10, 11. So from this C to this F is an 11th. Your eventual goal is to be able to recognize and write extended intervals on sight. Until then, you can use one of these 3 techniques to write extended intervals. The first method is pretty straightforward. You just start counting from the starting note. So let's say you want to write an 11th above low A. You simply write a low A and then count the steps until you've reached an 11th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So an 11th above that low A would be this D. Method 2 is going to start to sound a little bit like math class, but bear with me. I think it'll make sense as I show this to you. For this method, we're going to subtract 7 from the interval number that we want to construct. After we subtracted 7, we take that lower number, write that interval above your starting note, and then you raise that note an octave, and you have your extended interval. So let's say you want to construct a 10th above a D. We want to write a 10th, so we take 10 minus 7, and we get 3. So we write a third above that D, which is an F. Then we take that F, raise it an octave, and that is your 10th above D. The third method for writing extended intervals is to take your starting note, or your lower note, raise it an octave, and then use this little formula to add the higher note of the extended interval. If you want to write a ninth, you add 1 step to that upper octave. If you want to write a 10th, you add 2 steps to the upper octave. If you want to write an 11th, you add 3 steps. If you want to write a 12th, you add 4 steps. And if you want to write a 13th, you add 5 steps. So let's say we want to write a 13th above this low G. We take this G, raise it an octave, and because we want to write a 13th, we add 5 steps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. So a 13th above that low G is this E at the top of the staff. At the bottom of page 179, we have this extended interval exercise 2. Your job is to use one of the 3 methods I just showed you to write these intervals starting on the given notes. For numbers 1 through 4, I'm going to use method 1, where we simply count the steps. For numbers 5 through 8, I'm going to use method 2, where I subtract 7 from our interval number and then raise that note an octave. And for numbers 9 through 12, I'm going to use method 3, where we raise the starting note an octave, and then we add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, depending on what interval we want to write. If you have a copy of Guitar Theory modules, you can write your answers right there in the book and check your work on page 229. If you don't have a copy of Guitar Theory modules, remember I have that free manuscript paper you can download from my website, and the link is in the description. I'm going to go over the answers now, so pause the video, write your answers, start the video, and check your work. Numbers 1 through 4, we're going to count the steps. Number 1, we want to write a tenth above low A. So start on low A and start counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So a tenth above this low A is this C. Number 2, we're going to write a ninth above this D. Start counting your notes from that D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So a ninth above this D is the top space E. Number 3, we're going to write an 11th above this low G. Start counting from that low G. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So an 11th above that low G is the third space C. Number 4, we're going to write a 12th above this C. Let's count from the C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So a 12th above this C is the G at the top of the staff. Numbers 5 through 8, we're going to use the subtract 7 method. Number 5, we want to write a ninth above this B. Since we want to write a ninth, we subtract 7 from 9 and get a second, and we write a second above B, that's going to be C. Take that C, raise it an octave, and a ninth above this B is this C. Number 6, we're going to write a tenth above this F. We want to write a tenth, so we subtract 7 from 10 and we get a third. So we write a third above F, which is this A. Take that A, raise it an octave, and we have our tenth from F to this A above the staff. Number 7, we're going to write a 13th above this low A. We want to write a 13th, so we subtract 7 from 13 and get 6. So a 6th above that A is an F. We take that F, raise it an octave, and there's our 13th above low A. So low A to the F at the top of the staff is your 13th. Number 8, we're going to write another 13th, this time above low F. We want to write a 13th, so we subtract 7 from 13 and we get 6. We write a 6th above that low F, which is going to be D. Take that D, raise it an octave, and there's our 13th from low F to 4th line D. Numbers 9 through 12, we're going to use method 3, where we raise the starting note and then we add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, depending on what interval we want to write. Number 9, we're going to write a ninth above this C. Take that starting note, that C, raise it an octave, and we want to write a ninth, so we add one more step, find ourselves on a D. So our ninth above low C is this 4th line D. Number 10, we're going to write an 11th above low A. Take that starting note, the low A, raise it an octave. We want to write an 11th, so we add 3 more steps. 1, 2, 3. We find ourselves on this 4th line D. So an 11th above this low A is this 4th line D. Number 11, this time we're going to write a 10th above this D. Take that D starting note, raise it an octave. We want to write a 10th, so we add 2 more steps. 1, 2. Find ourselves on an F. So a 10th above this D is our top line F. And finally, number 12. We're going to write a ninth above low A. Take that low A, raise it an octave. We want to write a ninth, so we add 1 more step. And there we are on the B in the middle of the staff. And that's our ninth, from low A to that B. Your assignment for this module is to get familiar with extended intervals. This is going to be very important when we start studying chord extensions in Module 75. Don't forget to check out my book, Guitar Theory Modules. Of course, you can watch all these videos for free, but if you have your own copy of Guitar Theory Modules, you'll have all this information in one place and it's going to be a lot easier to follow along. So I'll leave a link for the book in the description. This is a lot to absorb, so take your time with this, and then when you're ready, I'll see you in Module 74, where you're going to learn to recognize the quality of extended intervals.